You are one decision away from a completely different life. If you're feeling stuck or lost, this is how you're going to shift your identity into a reality that you actually want. My life looks completely different than it did a year and a half to 2 years ago. For example, I used to be a burnt out high school teacher, and then I finally got the courage to pursue my own business. I also quit drinking, which is something that I struggled with for the majority of my life. And more recently, I moved across the country all by myself. That took a lot of courage as well because I didn't know how to move across the country. Not only was I scared to leave the life that I had known for so long, but I didn't know what to do. And so I constantly made that excuse. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's the right time. I'm not sure exactly how it would work. It's going to be too hard, blah, blah, blah. When I finally made the decision, when I shifted my identity from it's going to be hard, I'm too scared, I don't know what to do, what if it doesn't work, poor me. When I shifted my identity from that to no, I live across the country now. Like, I want to live here. This is where I'm going to move to. This is who I am. No questions asked. I'm not negotiating with myself anymore. I'm not making excuses. This is me. When I stood in that conviction, you want to know how long it took me to get myself across the country? I spent almost a year negotiating this with myself, by the way. It took me 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I could have lived here in my favorite city of Philadelphia. I could have been here for over a year already if I had just stopped playing small, stopped negotiating with myself, stopped telling myself that I'm stuck and I'm lost and I don't know what to do. I wasn't stuck and I wasn't lost. I guess you could say I was stuck. I was stuck in an identity that didn't serve me. I was stuck in an identity that kept holding me back because it was too scared of what was unfamiliar. And let me say this, if you keep showing up as who you were yesterday, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with you. I'm not saying that there's a problem that you need to fix, by the way, because I used to think that about myself, like there was something wrong with me and I always needed fixing and I constantly needed healing and I needed to heal from trauma and blah, blah, blah. No. When you stop showing up as the same version of yourself as you did yesterday and the day before that and the day before that, that is when things in your life, in your reality, start to also change. It starts to also shift because reality is a big reflection of what you know to be true about yourself deep down to your core. If you think that life is just happening to you, that you can't catch a break, that you're lost and you're stuck and poor me, the way that I was with a huge victim mentality for most of my life, just walking throughout life thinking what curveball is life going to throw at me next, you're going to constantly receive those curveballs. You're going to constantly receive tests from the universe or from life. Life is not testing you. And like I said, you are not stuck. You just need to shift who you see yourself as and what you know to be true about yourself, what is capable of yourself, or how capable you are, how worthy and deserving you are, how good enough you are to receive the things that you want. And this goes beyond just positive self-talk, right? This is literally who you are, all the way deep down. When you were born, you were not born like this. You weren't born with these limitations, these conditions, these rules of society that we tend to fall into the trap of. You weren't born like that. You were born whole and complete. When we grow up through childhood, we get conditioned, right? And I'm not saying that again like it's a bad thing. I'm not saying that to blame or shame. I'm just saying we get conditioned to be a certain way. That's not who we are, though. We get shaped into that, right? We also fall in line with society's norms or standards. Where is the book on that? Like, is there an actual book? Like, is there a law that says we have to follow what society tells us? Like, in terms of being who we are, like individually who we are, is there a law that we are supposed to follow? There's not. Then we also, encounter our own experiences in life. But the problem with that oftentimes is that we unconsciously tie ourselves to those experiences. We say, oh, well, this relationship didn't work out. Well, now I must not be good enough for love. Oh, I got overlooked for this job. I must not be successful enough. Oh, this certain thing happened to me. Why do I always feel like I can't catch a break? You're letting things outside of you dictate who you are. You let things outside of you determine who you are and your worth and your value. Nothing outside of you determines who you are. This is your life, your reality. You are the only one that was born into your individual life. You are the authority in your life. You decide every waking moment who you are. If you let an outside condition or circumstance or person tell you who you are giving away your gift, your power of creation to something or someone else. That is not up for debate. That is not for you to give your power away to someone else. That is strictly for you. You are a co-creator of your reality. So when you come back to that remembering or that knowing of who you actually are authentically, that you are whole, that you are complete, that you are limitless, that everything that you know right now up until this point, most of it is just something, a story that you have told yourself or that you have believed of what someone else told you. But it's not actually the truth. The truth is just what you tell yourself. So you have the power to decide, who are you? For most of my life as well, I used to be like a goody two shoes, right? Like I used to follow the rules. I used to just be a complete nerd, a goody two shoes. And I would always wonder why it never got me anywhere. I'd be like, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing what so and so said. I'm following all the rules. I'm doing what looks good on paper. I'm checking off all the boxes. So why can't I catch a break? Like, I just couldn't understand why my life was not changing until I finally realized that you can do all the right things. You can take all the right actions, but all of the right actions aren't what actually get you to where you want to be. It's who is doing the action. Who is doing that? And I like to follow scripture a lot. This goes back to the verse of faith without works is dead. If you have faith, you want something, you pray to God for something. You're like, yeah, I want a better life. I want XYZ, whatever it is. You have faith in that, right? You're praying, you're wanting, you're wishing, you're hoping. But the works part of it, and I'm not talking about this from a religious standpoint, by the way, I'm talking about this from like a metaphysical lens. The work in this case is referring to you can wish, hope, want, pray, but if you are doing so, you are leading your life with an identity of, yeah, but I still don't think that it'll work out for me. I'm going to do this right step and I'm going to hope that it works. I'm going to take that action and, ooh, fingers crossed. Let's see. I don't know. I'm still really doubtful. Let's see how it turns out. You're not doing the work. The work is not the physical part. The work is internal. If your identity doesn't match your desired outcome, your desired reality, all the things that you are doing essentially don't mean anything. Because once you get to your end, like think about this too. Think about this. I know I'm kind of side questing here, but it does not make sense to say, I want XYZ, and until I get it, I'm not going to feel satisfied. Like what? You're not going to feel satisfied, or you're not going to feel happy, or you're not going to feel good enough or worthy or deserving or whatever until you have something. Again, that is you letting something outside of you tell you who you are, tell you what you're worth, tell you about your value. When you get something, have you ever not felt the satisfaction that you thought you would have? It's because things outside of you aren't meant to dictate who you are. When you feel confident with yourself or good enough, worthy, whatever, when you feel that about yourself first, then what you get to experience is just purely based on the experience. You get to enjoy the experience. And I'll leave you with an example of this before I go. When I moved here, right, how I said it took me 6 weeks to move here, which to me, I don't know. I don't know what the average move time across the country is. I just thought that it was rather fast, right? For me, when I moved here, I'm not saying that everything was peachy, right? But my identity was different. There were little things that happened. Like, I didn't know where I wanted to live. I didn't know the area of town that I wanted to live in. I didn't know which areas were safe. I didn't know how to get my car over here because I knew that I didn't want to drive 30 hours by myself. There were so many things that I didn't know, but I just continued on little by little until I got myself here. In fact, I didn't want to find a place online to live in. I wanted to be here to look at places to live in. So I stayed in an Airbnb for a few weeks. And then even now, like, I'm not in the place that I want to eventually end up in, but I told myself it doesn't matter as long as I have a roof over my head. Like, I knew that I wanted a house, but I didn't want to jump so quick because I still, even when I was here, when I had the Airbnb, I didn't want to rush. I didn't know what area I wanted to be in. So I said, no, just rent an apartment, get a duplex, just get something for now. A year is not going to kill you, right? And it'll give me the time to actually find my home, like find my permanent place. So aside from that, again, it wasn't perfect, but I'm still in my identity, right? Aside from that, when I moved here, my car got here a week or two after I did. And I was tracking my car's GPS. It was supposed to be on one of those trailer trucks. And I noticed that my car made it to town like right before, I don't know, it was around 8 p.m. one night. But I wasn't being notified. They were supposed to drop it off to me. And I was like, that's weird. Maybe it's late, whatever. Maybe they'll call me in the morning. The next day goes by, and it's late morning, and I'm like, there's something really odd about this, because my car was sitting what looked like to be in a residential street. And I'm like, why would that big truck be parked in a residential street? So I thought that my car was stolen. I call or order up an Uber, and this guy, like, bless his heart, he hardly understood English, but he was for this mission. I was like, hey, I think my car got stolen. I'm gonna go check it out. He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm trying to explain it to him the best I could, right? So he could understand. And he's like, the car got stolen? He's like, no, let's go. And like, there, me and the Uber driver go on this mission to go look for my stolen car. It wasn't stolen, by the way. But long story short, we found the car, but the Uber driver had so much fun with me. And even though it was a stressful moment and I could have stepped back into my old identity and been like, why does nothing ever work out? Poor me. I knew this was going to be hard. Wah, wah. Instead of doing that, like, yeah, I was stressed out, but I actually enjoyed myself. Like, I wasn't there alone, right? And I'm here alone. Like, I don't have family or friends here. But I called up an Uber, ordered an Uber, and he was so happy to help me with this situation. Like, he didn't really do anything. He just drove me there, but I felt the moral support, right? But my point is, again, is that when you stand in the conviction of who you are and you don't let outside circumstances or outside situations dictate who you are, that is when you are standing in your authenticity and standing in your power, and everything in the world just shifts around to meet you there. Like how I thought my car was stolen, it wasn't actually stolen. There was just a miscommunication. I wasn't notified that it would be taken off the truck and driven and placed somewhere for the night, whatever happened. But see, even that worked out. They were actually trying to take care of my car, even though they didn't communicate that with me. But everything worked out, right? So, what I challenge you to do today, when you decide to shift into your desired identity, you don't look back. You don't tie yourself to the past. You don't say, yeah, but this has never worked out. No, the past is not connected to now. The past is literally not connected to right here. You're the only one deciding to bring it with you. Like, if you think of things on a quantum level, like a quantum physics or the quantum field, past and future does not exist. Everything exists right now. That's how you're able to think of a memory from the past, a memory from the present, and even think of a memory of the future that has not even happened yet. You're able to think of all of those things right now in the present moment. So when you are tying yourself to things in the past, You are bringing that with you consciously. You are consciously aware of these things. They do not need to come with you. It's not to invalidate anything that you've been through in the past, but your past is not you. You're just making it who you are on accident. You are limitless, okay? You are authentic down to your core. That is who you are. So today, in this moment, shift into your desired identity. Whatever it is that you've been wanting to call into your life or change about your life, shift into that identity right here, right now, in this very second. Do not waste another second being who you were yesterday. Shift your identity now and watch how everything else in your reality shifts along with you. So, on that note, I have been wanting to, I'm glad I remembered this. I have been wanting to sort of build a community here because I offer one-on-one coaching, but I really like, I used to be a high school teacher, so I really miss sitting at my desk and communicating with my students and just having that fun, interaction with people. And I was thinking of putting together a community where we could get together once a week and we can treat it sort of like a mastermind, but also like a hot seat group coaching. So there could be coaching involved, but we can also just talk about concepts that I like to discuss here in my videos. And I wanted to kind of pilot that and test it out before I put everything together on the back end to set up an actual online community. So I was thinking of opening 5 spots for people. This would be a completely free pilot, by the way, for the next 2 to 3 weeks where we could meet on Zoom together and kind of test this out and run our own little pilot community just for fun, see how it goes. And so I can get ideas on how to actually work everything and put everything together on the back end as well. So if you're interested in that, I will drop the Google form in the comments and the description. Again, a completely free experience for the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm looking for 5 people to join this pilot community with me and see what it can turn into. I'm really excited for that, so I really hope you sign up. That does it for this one. I love you so much. I will see you next time.